I'm trying as hard as I can.
No, you're not.
No, right. Use a hammer, bitch.
So now we're killing baby trees. As a builder, I hear this all of the time. Well, we've put all this work into this house. We think it's worth X amount. And my argument is always, all right, welcome everybody. We are going to just go through some of the strangest and funniest and probably not true TikToks and Instagram reels that we found to kind of debunk some myths and tell everybody what we think. All right, Cozy, let's start it off.
Okay.
One of the biggest scams in real estate is that new construction is the better buy. You have to be insanely careful about what builder you're using because some of the builds that we've been seeing recently are crap. Sorry to say it, but especially in 2020, the wood that they used to use back in the day is a lot stronger wood. The wood we use now, the trees are maybe 5 years old. I honestly don't know how old they are.
Let's stop it right now.
So now we're killing baby trees.
Right.
I think you get a lot of agents that want to debunk new construction because they can't sell new construction.
And they're afraid, right? They're not familiar with it, so they're kind of afraid of it. But well, let's get back to the lumber thing about. I don't know. Is baby wood weaker than old wood?
I will say there's a little truth. So like in the 1940s when they built houses, they would cut down, old trees.
Okay.
And now we're mass manufacturing so many houses that the lumber that's getting cut down is probably newer. And the biggest problem with that is the lumber shows up fresh from the mill and wet. Mm-hmm. So then when it gets put into a house and then it dries and it twists. It's not
fully dry. Right.
Right. It's not because it's 5 years old. It's because it's wet.
Okay, let's finish this.
I honestly don't know how old they are, but they're not as dense. And so the homes that were built decades ago are genuinely a stronger built home, unless you're extremely particular about the builder that you use. And again, really be thorough with your inspection.
The other thing that's funny is it doesn't matter what builder you use because they all get the lumber from the same lumber yards.
Lumber, and I think it's just a lot of agents are scared of new construction because they don't know.
Yeah.
I love our inspector. He'll literally text us pictures of new constructions that he's in on a regular basis. Some can have electrical fires out of nowhere. Some don't even hook up the right plumbing correctly. So the second it turns on, it's going to flood the interior of the wall.
She's saying that they have like a home inspector that goes out and inspects, but we have city inspectors.
We get city inspections. And this is basically all the way false. We're not getting electrical fires.
The city inspectors inspect like every step of the way.
Yeah.
So
a lot of these are people want to be negative because it gets more views.
Right.
When new construction is, no one's lived in it. You don't have to deal with anybody else's cats. You don't, that kind of stuff. Cats are an issue for me because I'm allergic.
So I will say the one truth I think is probably like the materials that we get, not the baby wood. But so like I had an older house under contract and the home inspector called out that the light switches needed to all be switched out because they were now obsolete. And our electrician went in and said like they're obsolete because you can't buy them anymore. But he said the quality of them are way better than what we get now.
Right. Well, that's probably true because of the mass production, right? Like in the 1950s, they weren't building thousands and thousands of houses. But I will say that's why building codes change because like knob and tube wiring that you're going to find in a 1960 house is outdated. That's definitely worse.
Absolutely.
Right? Where you'll find like a lot of houses, old houses built in a certain area, a lot of them have structural problems because they didn't have soils reports.
Right. Asbestos.
Yeah. So saying that older is better is not necessarily true because the materials have gotten better. We're not using asbestos, right? You're not eating lead paint anymore off the windowsills like on Tommy Boy. Do you eat paint chips? No, why? So the materials are getting better. The codes are to make it so they don't have the problems that they used to have.
Right. But it probably has to go from like buying all these light switches. We're probably getting them from overseas and not America anymore.
Not after the tariffs.
Right. Not after these tariffs. But yeah, maybe we'll start getting American made light switches again and it'll be back to quality. Right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Of course I didn't use a realtor when I bought new construction. And now I don't have any sprinklers. Of course I didn't use a realtor when I bought new construction, and now my home comes with no appliances.
Of course I didn't use a realtor when I bought new construction. My closing has been delayed 3 times.
Of course I didn't use a realtor to buy my new home, and I paid way too much, and I didn't get any incentives. Yay!
Go
So
ahead. I'll let you start.
I do recommend that everybody uses a realtor when they buy a home. I am one. I am an advocate for the realtor. In your contract, it'll tell you whether you've got landscaping, so you've got sprinklers,
Landscaping, appliances.
and what's included for appliances. So you need to have somebody look over your contract and make sure that those things.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can buy a home without a real estate agent, but we always say like have an advocate on your side. So,
Absolutely, yeah. Hire an attorney, somebody to look over your contracts, make sure you're taken care of, because the builder is obviously representing themselves. And again, we are realtors, so we're always going to treat you with loyalty and respect.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, builder just unlocked the house for me. He said, don't be too hard on us. I said, okay, let's see what we find on this new construction. Where's not flashed or capped. And another one.
What's a tie cover? Well, that's not new. Whatever that is, it's like the paint's peeling on it.
Just can't figure it out, but something doesn't look right here. And like everyone, low nails everywhere. Like every other fence, this one's got some damage in it too. Little crack in the foundation, comes out to about
This is not a new house.
3/16 of an inch. Water is turned on in the house, but nothing comes out here. We have water here though. This entire section of flooring all squeaks when you walk on it. General rule of thumb, if the drywall is in the garage, it does not matter. Garage man door. Missing the outlet trim. Threshold trim not installed. And what would a bathroom be without a scratch towel bar? Some sluter right here,
On a
sharp enough to cut
scratch
you.
towel bar.
Dents and dings all around your tub.
I think this looks like a rehabbed house.
Yeah.
Again, that's why you have city inspections, you like that rough stuff. You always want to, do all the inspections you can. Make sure the house is in order. When we're building a house, we're not, and what people need to understand is like we're building a house out of imperfect material. We talked about lumber already. It's not perfect. It's wet. It's going to twist, right? Like, so concrete's a very, very imperfect material. So it's not always going to be level. The foundation obviously should not be cracked, but that's not a new construction house. So again, make sure you're getting your inspections. Make sure you've always got warranty. In Montana, we do a 1-year craftsmanship warranty and a blue tape walkthrough just like that. But
Yeah, the other thing is like when we do like a custom build, or even if someone comes in, partway through, we do, if they want to do weekly walkthroughs, we'll do weekly walkthroughs with them, right? We're inspecting, the city's obviously inspecting, but our project managers are inspecting the whole way through.
Absolutely.
As well, to where some of this stuff, you're right, it looked like a rehab house. Other parts looked like the house was just still under construction.
Right. And that happens.
Yep. That's just a home inspector
So
trying
that
to.
guy's just going to a house that maybe somebody's rehabbing and saying it's new construction.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't believe everything you see on the internet.
Right. Weird. I thought it was truth.
Buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 years old. If you can buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 and you own those 10 rental houses at the age of 30 and you don't buy another piece of real estate for the next 25 years, when you're 55, more than likely, all of those properties are going to be paid for. And if let's just say you still have a balance on all 10 because you put them on 30-year notes, you can sell off more than likely 2 or 3 and pay the rest off. So now you're sitting there with 7 homes paid for that you have tenants in and you have cash flow coming in every month. So think about that. If you literally had 7 rental properties making you $2,000 a month, that's $14,000 a month. That's called financial freedom.
I 100% agree with this guy. I've been on the plan of buying 1 rental a year for a long time. I'm 1,000% agreeing on everything he says there, because like I own an eightplex that I've owned for almost 20 years. It'll be paid off in a couple of years, and that's going to be $8,000 a month in cash flow. And then if you just keep buying, the appreciation takes over. The property is appreciating every year, and your tenants are paying for it.
So this video is kind of funny to me a little bit because like his advice is good, but what
Yeah.
a lot of people are reacting to is
I'm reading the
where he's
comments
just
right
like,
now.
just buy 10 rental houses before you're 30.
Easy
Like-
peasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the reactors are kind of, well, why not buy 50 houses if you can buy them all before you're 30?
Right.
Yeah,
So I
someone,
think, like-
someone commented and said, why not skip the middleman and just buy $1 billion?
Yeah. So like for somebody who like has no idea how they're gonna buy 10 rental houses before they're 30, like
Right.
how do you get started?
Yep.
Like,
So
what do you do?
So the traditional way is to save the 20% and buy a investment property. There's also other ways of doing it. People use equity in their homes. They pull up, the equity in their homes, put down for the down payment. Then there's ways to, you could borrow against your 401k, whatever you can do to get that first property. Because once you get the first property, the second one's easier. Then you can borrow against the equity of the rental the one that you own to buy number two. And then, then your lending power just gets bigger and bigger as you keep going. So the hardest part is buying that first one and getting into the rotation of buying them on a regular basis.
So good advice, but just
Good advice. Easier said than done.
easier said than
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a good goal to keep buying. I mean, I'm all for it.
Okay, so next
So we
one.
just put up to one of my rental properties. The tenants just vacated, and we're here to check out the condition. Let's go take a look. Oh, look, my fucking gates are missing. What the hell? Look, they even took the door gate. The door gate and the driveway gates are missing. It's like they're fucking waiting for the hurricane or something, or the hurricane was headed this way. They just fucking vacated and left everything thrown everywhere. The inside's clean. I think it's just the outside where
Oh, the inside looks
I'm
really
just
good.
tripped out about the gates missing, man. You pull up and the gates are gone. You got a big hole right here. Check it out. Big hole. I don't know what happened. Someone probably just normal rent. You get the normal wear and tear, I would say. I don't know what happened to this door. It's gone. They must have took it with the gates. People think real estate's all glamorous and fun, but this is how your rental properties end up after you rent them out. Hey, this was my gate.
I found his gate. All right, Cozy, your property management experience.
Well, yeah, you're investing in these rental properties. It's just like your home, right? I always think it's funny when people buy a house, they're so stressed out because it is the biggest purchase that you make in your life, but then you have to take care of your investment. Right. So you invest in a rental property. How do you take care of it? You either hire a good property manager that is doing inspections and checking these things to make sure your property's not getting destroyed.
Correct.
Or you do it yourself,
Right.
right? You do have to obviously follow all the laws and do all the things, but you should be, what did we do them? Like annually, every 6 months?
We did quarterly walkthroughs, and like the property, this is a good example of an absentee owner who just leases, probably didn't do a great background check on his tenants, and then you just got him in there, and they probably did that damage within a month, because if a good tenant's a good tenant, they're going to be a good tenant for a long time. And then the property manager that I have hired now, they do quarterly walkthroughs. They send me a report of what needs fixed, what's wrong, if it's clean, if they're taking
and
care
that's
of the
a
property.
benefit to the tenant and the landlord, right? So as a landlord, you're keeping your property up. As a tenant, you know that your landlord is investing in your home that you're living in.
Yeah,
So-
like if I've got a leaky faucet, I want to know about it if I'm paying the water, right? We want to get that fixed right away and get it taken care of. And again, if there's any problems, if there's damage, we want to know about it. That way we can get rid of the tenant quick and minimize the damages. You do have security deposits. They're never enough, but you want to mitigate that really quick and get rid of those tenants. But it's a business. It's not, you can't just buy rentals and
walk away.
and
It's
walk
an
away
investment.
and
Yep.
expect them just to send you cash every month.
Yeah.
Which
So-
would be nice.
Well, buy 10 before you're 25.
If I buy 10 before I'm 30, I'll just get mailbox money.
it's a little late for that.
It is. It's a little late.
For sale by owner, horror stories. I literally have been there. Before I got into real estate, before I even had a love for it, I tried to sell my own property. Nothing happened. I put a sign in the yard, I put it on Craigslist, on Facebook, all that good stuff. Nothing happened. There was no reach. So if you're thinking about being a for sale by owner, here's something to think about. Because you can post your listing on Zillow now, which is pretty cool, doesn't mean
Fucking
it's going
Zillow.
to get the reach that I get as a real estate agent. Zillow makes money off of real estate agents. They pay to be the top agent in your neighborhood. So do you think they're going to prioritize your property over us? No, don't do it. Hire a realtor. Do it the right way.
Obviously, I do agree. Hire a realtor.
What are the benefits of hiring a realtor?
Well, I was talking on her thing. I don't know that Zillow prioritizes us because the agents, they do pay to be like the top ranked agent in the area or whatever on Zillow. But that doesn't mean Zillow prioritizes us as real estate agent listings over a for sale by owner.
Right. Like one of the big benefits of hiring a real estate agent, though, is the reach of all the other agents in the association, right? We put them on the MLS, and then they're out to all the realtors buyers in our area. But there's also other benefits, right? Like the contract, inside of
negotiating.
Yeah, I was gonna say when we bought our house, our realtor, we bought in 2020, so it was super competitive because he knew other realtors. He knew it was coming on the market, and we were able to be like the first offer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
there's benefits.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's definitely like relationships that get built, right? And we all work together all the time. So
I just got a phone call from another real estate agent, and she starts the phone call with, "So you're new to the business, right?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. This is my 4th year." Whatever. We hang up the phone, and of course I run to the MLS to see who she is. And I can see in her profile, she's been doing this for 23 years. That's how old I am, okay? So I didn't start selling houses out the womb. But then I go to her amount of closings in the last 20 years because the MLS just easily gives me that. And I go back to mine, and I'm like, wow, it's just really funny that in my 4-year career, I've already done over half of the amount of closings that she's had in 20 years. Then I just get curious about highest sales price. So I go to her highest sales price, and it's $940,000, which is really good. But mine is $1,948,250. I just feel like, if she looked me up enough to know that I was new to the business, she should have at least given me a little respect for what I've done, even though I'm new to the business, right?
The one thing about real estate is the barrier of entry is really low, and it really doesn't cost that much to stay active. So whether the older gal is doing a bunch of business or not, she does have a ton of experience, and her high sales price, 20 years ago, the sales price was a lot lower.
That is a good point. You can't really compare that because 20 years ago.
Right. Well, let's look when I started, 20 years ago, I was selling $80,000 houses, and, now our lowest price houses are, $400,000. When the older agent was active, she was probably selling a bunch of $80,000 houses.
Fair. In the newer agent's defense, I'll take the opposite.
Oh, you think you're young?
No, well, compared to you, yeah, but I wasn't. That's not what I'm saying. It happens all the time, right? Everybody's new at some point. You don't have to talk down to them because they're newer.
Right.
I had when I started, I had so many more experienced agents help me than anything. I actually just had a brand new agent call me and be like, "Hey, can I just ask your advice?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Yeah. If the younger girl in this video she also could have maybe approached it differently. Right? Instead of being and posting it on TikTok, which I'm sure that went over fantastic.
It goes back to the building relationships.
Yes.
Right? The older woman could have, you'd been like, "Hey, let me help you, let me help you get started." But obviously 4 years isn't new.
No.
Right? But there's definitely better ways to approach that. And that's what we do great is we build the relationships with other agents and banks and title companies and cultivate those relationships because they're important because in theory, you're going to be doing multiple deals with the same people. Right.
You work with the same people over and over. Right. So you might as well get along with them.
Right.
But yeah, I also would assume that's an MLS violation going on the internet.
Cozy's very big on the MLS.
I follow the rules, man.
I do.
Is it illegal to disclose that to the public?
I don't know that. I think it's probably a code of ethics thing, right? Just to
don't be a shit.
Can you see that? Can going back 20 years, see how much a realtor has sold?
No, our MLS has changed though. In the last 6-7 years ago, we got a whole new MLS system, so you can't.
I don't think we can.
Yeah.
I never look though because I don't.
Well,
care.
And honestly, on ours, I can only pull up my own, right? I think if you're the designated broker in the office, you can pull up everybody in your office. But yeah, I don't know who can pull up everybody.
Right. I also don't care because I'm going to treat everybody with respect and dignity,
right.
Whether you're in the business 4 months or 40 years.
Right.
We're still going to treat you the same.
Plus, I'm just doing my own thing.
Right. I don't care about anybody else.
Okay, moving on.
Real estate client cliches. We'll wait for the market to get better. You know who else waited for the market to get better? The Bronchiosaurus. Yeah, he was waiting. And a comet hit. Waiting for the market to get better to go buy a home is like waiting for the weather to go buy a convertible. You know when a convertible is the most expensive? When the sun's out, because everybody wants one. Our property is worth more than that.
I love riding secondhand.
I do too. So I completely agree with that last one.
Right. Well, it's true. It's like that with every market. If you buy a boat right before winter, it's a lot cheaper than if you go buy a boat
right before summer.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you go back, like if I would have waited to buy a house, if I would in 2006 when I bought my first house, if I'd have waited till rates were better, the price of the house would have been way more. So the thing about real estate is that it appreciates every year. And even if it's 1%, 2%, but in Montana, we're getting 8, 9, 10% appreciation every year. You're not getting a cheaper house. You might get a little lower interest rate if you wait, but you're not getting a cheaper house. You're paying for it one way or the other.
100%. Okay.
Yeah, no Sherlock. I want your property to be worth more than that too. You know what I want your property to be worth? $10 million. And I want to sell it in 1 second. Something is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. That's why pricing is so key. Remember, buyers buy things in 2 ways, with their heart and with their wallet. It's really hard to negotiate with the wallet, but I can negotiate feelings all day long. We want the furniture. Oh, yes, the furniture. My agents have lost many deals for me because of furniture. So if someone says we want the furniture, we say,
I feel like I'm just going to agree with everything Ryan Serhant says.
Always. Always. And as a builder, I hear this all the time. Well, we've put all this work into this house. We think it's worth X amount. And my argument is always, it's only worth what a buyer will pay for it. You might think it's worth $1 million, but if a buyer's not willing to pay 800, then the value's not there. There's a value disconnect. It might be the lot. It might be the colors. It might be something that's not there. Just because you think something's worth that much, I think my gold bar is worth $10 million. But if I go to a coin place, they're going to give you market value. The market is the market is the market is what we always say. It's only worth what people will pay for it.
What made you not want to be a realtor anymore? Money was too slow. This is the thing. You can make a lot of money being a realtor. So I don't want people to get that wrong. Like, I don't want people to think that, like, I'm not saying it's a good thing, that it's not a good profession. But for me, it was too slow. Like, yeah, you know, I had 10K months, 20K months. I think my biggest real estate month was probably like 25K in a month. But like, I had to work for that money, bro. You knocking doors. Making cold calls. All of that. And the thing about that is, like, it's different. When you do real estate in like a smaller city, it's way different. You can cover a lot of territory in a day than if you were in like Los Angeles. Because you might go see 1 or 2 houses the whole day because it's so far out and then the traffic's crazy. So I did that, leaving Boston and coming to LA to do it, but it was like, nah. There was one house I closed on. I was like, I can't do this one again. You got the check and said you couldn't do it no more? Yeah, I couldn't do it again. Yeah, I was like, this the last one, bro.
I love the, it's different in my market conversation. Like if I was in a bigger city, I'd sell more.
Right.
I think it's hilarious. Like he was making like 25K in a month, which is great. And then he's like, but that was too much work.
Yeah, but I had to work.
I think it's the slow burn of any business, whether you start a paint company or if you're laying concrete. Your business is work. You have to work your business to make money, and it starts slow. And then you might have to be knocking doors at first. You might have to be cold calling. We still do open houses every week. Mm-hmm. You have to build your business, and people want it quick and easy. And I think it's a lot of with the internet. People make it, I've been selling real estate for 20 years, so I don't have to door knock it. We have referrals. We've got past clients.
Right.
You have to start your business somewhere.
It's also funny that like, and then here you got to drive. I'm driving to Bozeman tomorrow.
Right. We're driving 2 hours. Yeah. I was just in Bozeman and Helena 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So I think
I also think though in those like bigger cities, you work like an area.
Yeah.
You're not working all of LA, right? You're working
especially in a big city like
Rancho
Phoenix.
Cucamonga.
Right. The Compton Clovers.
Yes.
It also doesn't say that video, but I'm wondering, like, what are you doing now that you're gonna make so much more money, so much quicker than being a real estate agent?
Right.
Like
waiting for crypto to hit is what he's doing.
And honestly, the money in real estate is slow at first.
It is slow, right? Like especially if you sell a house, you're 45 to 60 days to get paid. Mm-hmm. If you build a house, you're 6 to 8 months to get paid. A deal can fall apart in the last minute. There's no guarantees. But it's just like every other business, and that's what I think a lot of people don't get is that you have to grind it out. You have to build it.
Someone to make $1 million in real estate, what would you recommend for them to do?
Do not immediately go into real estate investing. I think a lot of people think that that's where you make money. That's also where you can lose a significant amount of money. Brokerage is a no-risk investment. Your time is what you're investing into creating relationships for people that are going to pay you to help them do a real estate transaction that you have nothing to do with. You don't have to buy the glue or the nuts or the bolts. There's no capital investment, and that's what's always set me free, because the risk is your time, but the reward can be endless.
Are we just going to agree with Ryan Serhant all the
Yeah,
time?
I don't. We probably that'll.
I do agree with that, because I didn't start building houses until 10 years into my career. It is just your time. It's open houses. We've talked about this on our podcast plenty of times. 2 coffee meetings a day, a lunch meeting every day. You're building those relationships.
Yeah, and they say when you first start real estate, right? Because it's easier to get buyers when you're first getting in the business, but buyers are time, right? Like it's a lot more time working with a buyer than it is working if you get listings.
Right, because you're showing houses you're over and over and over.
You're driving. It's harder to be a listing agent when you're first starting, just because it's hard to get the business. But then it's not as.
And you're
much.
typically younger, and you don't know a lot of people that own houses yet.
Yep.
You have to get those repeat clients.
Yeah, so time.
My only thing with him is he's saying anybody wants to make like $1 million in real estate, but you don't necessarily have to be a realtor or a broker to make money in real estate.
Oh, is that what you took from that? From Ryan Serhant?
He's saying to be a broker, to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Right. No, I know that's what he's saying. The question at the beginning, though, was like, what's the best way to make $1 million in real estate?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So he was saying like his time is the best way to do it, not like investing right away, because you can lose in that too. Plus, it goes back to the rental thing. Like, okay, where are you going to get the money from?
Right, and the rental thing's a slow burn. You might buy a property for $250,000. It's not going to be worth $1 million for 25, 30 years.
Right.
So you're not going to make $1 million in a year.
Never, ever put 20% down of your own money on a rental property. You see, banks don't care about the cash that you give them to get that 20%. All banks care about is giving you a loan for 80% of the actual value of that property. You can give them that 20% equity in cash, or you can do what I did and creatively create that 20% so you never have to use any of your own money. Most of us don't have enough money, especially when we start, and you can't scale using your own money unless you already come from money, and what's the point? So what you do is you buy real estate at a discount using somebody else's money, you repair it, and you create enough of that equity for the bank to give you a loan on 8% of that equity. Let's say you buy a property for $50,000, you put $25,000 into it. You use a private lender $75,000 for that. Well, now that property is worth $100,000, so you're able to get that 80% loan from the bank, or $80,000, pay back your private lender their money plus interest. Now you own the property. There's 20% equity, which is all the bank cares about, and you didn't have to use your own cash to do it. Now, of course, there's some nuances and complexities that go along with that, but it's not too bad. It's actually pretty simple, but it does require work. If you want the grooved path to put in the least amount of work to actually see some results.
Comments?
He makes it sound a lot easier than it is. Right. Finding the private money is the hard part.
Right.
You have to have a proven track record. And if you're going to buy your first rental, not a lot of people are going to give you $150K to go buy your first rental if you've never done it before. And those private money lenders are charging 10, 12, 15%.
And they don't mess around, right?
And
then it's one of those things like, you can get yourself in a mess.
You can get yourself in a real pickle.
In a real pickle. You're so stupid.
And then they're charging points on top of that. So if you borrow $100,000, they're probably charging 2 points. Mm-hmm. So they're getting 2% right up front, and then you have to go find the flip house. Then you have to put the money in it. You got to come up with the money somewhere to repair it. I mean, I've seen it done before. My first rental property, I got in no money down. I found a contract for deed, but you've got to beat the streets and go find those properties. I don't love how he's saying it's super easy. You can go do this. Finding the money is a hard part. Finding the property is a hard part, and making the repairs. That's a lot of equity to make up in just a fixer upper. You can't just go throw a coat of paint on and some flooring down. That's like a house with structural problems and things that you're gonna have.
If you're buying a house at that steep a discount, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money.
Right. You're not just putting lipstick on it. there's some major repairs that have to be done.
And it's going to take a long time to where your private
money lender, you're probably paying 12% a month.
It would be easy to find a great deal with low interest when you're not putting any money into the deal.
It's kind of the unicorn. What I like, what he did say is what you can do is if you say you find an undervalued house, like a house that's underpriced on the MLS or for sale by owner or something like that, you can get an appraisal done. You can, have your real estate agent give you a market analysis, take that to the bank and say it's 10% underpriced. Then you can use that equity to get into the house. The bank will use that and help you get into that. So there's ways to do it. It's not kind of as easy as
Okay, moving on.
I've owned over 2,000 pieces of real estate in my life. I've got several $100 million worth of real estate today. One thing I know for sure is if you tell me the renters are going to pay the payments for you, that tells me you've never managed rental property. That tells me you've never done it. That's 100%. You are a novice at best, an idiot at worst. And that's the truth. Because anybody who's ever had a renter or been a renter, and I have both, I've been a renter too, it knows that sometimes renters don't pay. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's cancer. Sometimes there's car wrecks and job loss. Sometimes there's a pandemic. Sometimes ... It's, as if there's a perfect stream of every month the rent is going to come on time or early and you can pay your stupid little payment. And that's the most ridiculous assumption, which indicates a lack of experience or knowledge of how rental property really works.
I am not a huge Dave Ramsey fan. He's got a little validity to this. You do want a buffer, in your account to cover costs. But again, then if you say you have a month where you're not rented out, you get to write that off on your taxes. You get to write those repairs off on your taxes.
Right.
The tenants are making your payment. Mm-hmm. They are.
So basically, he could have just worded it better.
Right.
Yes,
have a safety net.
Yeah.
And what is true though, to buy the bigger units, like I've got an eightplex, you buy 20 units. That way, when one person moves out and it's not rented, the other renters are covering the payment, not you.
Right.
Or if you buy a single family house and it's vacant for a month, you are making that payment. So what he's saying is the tenants aren't making the payments. They are. But say the tenants are making the payments 10 out of 12 months. And then, so that's where you need to build up a safety net. You need to be ready for those. It's a business. It's not an easy, it's not as easy as they're just going to make the payments and you're going to get wealthy. You have to run it like a business. You've got to have safety nets in place.
No, I guess there's just a lot of stuff with Dave Ramsey out there. Like he wouldn't even get a mortgage or use a loan to buy a rental property ever.
Which is silly because you get to write the interest off.
Right.
Even on your personal house, you're writing the interest off on your taxes. So why would you use your own money when the government's going to give it back to you and you could invest your own money and make 8 to 10%? So to me, that's just flawed thinking. And I'm not a big Dave.
Okay.
Ryan, I got $10,000. What should I do? I'm like, you should definitely invest in Section 8. With $10,000, you can immediately buy your first Section 8 property that's going to cash flow you anywhere between $500 to $800 every single month. And if you don't already know what Section 8 is, this is a government-backed program where the government's going to pay most of, if not all of the rents for low-income families. So for you as a landlord, this means you're never going to have to worry about your tenants not being able to pay their rents every month. Not only that, but since the government's going to be the one paying your rents, they're automatically going to give you rent increases every single year, so you never have to worry about your tenants saying that they can't afford a rent increase.
This guy's like the opposite of Dave Ramsey.
Right.
Yeah, and
tenants will always pay you. They'll always afford it.
Right. I can't. It's been so long since I've done property management. I can't remember the nuances of the Section 8. I don't know that they actually give you an increase every year.
They don't. You have to apply for it.
Okay.
And I remember I worked at the housing authority, so I'm quite the expert. I've had really good luck in my rentals with Section 8 tenants. Obviously, you're doing background checks and everything on your tenants, regardless if they're Section 8 or they're not. And the government, what they do is they take what the tenant's income is, and they're low income tenants, so they have to pay a certain portion of their income to the rent, whether it's $10 a month or $100 a month.
Or $500 a
Right.
month, right? And
Right.
then the government pays
The government
remainder.
pays the difference. And I've had really good luck with them, but it's all about screening the tenants to make sure.
So they have to go through the same screening that
Every other
anybody
tenant does.
paying their full rent amount would. And then I didn't know that you had to apply annually. And then I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, doesn't Section 8 do some home inspections as well?
They do inspections as well.
So you have, right, your property manager doing inspections, but then you have the government doing inspections as well. So the other thing that's nice, and it's kind of the same thing, like if you buy a house with like an FHA loan, they're also checking the property to make sure that it's habitable and like in good condition for the Section 8.
The absolute key to it is your due diligence in your tenant, because there's good Section 8 tenants and there's bad Section 8 tenants. There's good regular tenants and there's bad regular tenants. It doesn't matter as long as and there's no flawless. It's not 100% certain, but if you're doing credit checks, criminal background checks, employment verifications,
past rental history is
huge. You're right. So you have to do your due diligence, right? Like we have to. It's all about running it like a business, not just putting people in there because the government's going to pay for it. It is a flawed system, though. This was my problem with the housing, because they're low income tenants, and as a country, we want these people to, we want to help them, right? Like we've got to help our tribe, but if they go out and get a better job, then they end up paying more rent, and so a lot of them just don't try, and it's a flawed system that I think could be reworked. I'm not sure how.
You're getting a little deep into the government rabbit hole.
That's why I'm not a politician. That and the criminal background check. But yeah, I think it's a good program, and I think that people should utilize it.
Okay, ready?
If you're a young guy and you can get an FHA loan for a fourplex, because the loan goes up to 4 units.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
If I was in my 20s and a young guy, I would buy a fourplex with an FHA loan. Yeah, rent it out and live in that 1 unit.
Bam.
Long enough to rent out my unit and move into another house.
Yep.
I really would.
Yep.
I really, really would. And then, you get to keep that loan. Just tell the bank you change your mind.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I'm a big Justin Waller fan. He's a big blue collar advocate. But the only hard part about that video is qualifying for the fourplex. If you're, if you're early 20s, because obviously a fourplex is going to cost way more than a single family home.
And I don't know, since I'm not a lender, I don't know that, because a lot of loans you can use the rental income as part of the qualification. I don't know that.
I believe that's
FHA.
correct, but that is a fantastic idea. And like we've talked about duplexes, live in one side and then rent out the other. I think that's a fantastic idea to build.
Yeah.
The other thing is what he doesn't talk about there. The hidden benefit of that is the 1031 tactic. So say Biddle buys a duplex, lives in one side for 2 years. He can then move the tenant out of the other side. He can move into the other side and live in that for 2 years, and then he can sell that. So you have to live in
So he'd have to live in each side?
Each side. You have to live in it. I think it's 2 of the past 3 or 4 years.
Why each side though?
You have to have that address for so long. Then you could actually condo it and sell one side, and then take that tax money and put it in the other one, pay the loan down.
I just have I'm gonna flip that.
I'm gonna flip that. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me a 20.
Will not be buying anything that was built in 2024.
My house was built in 1958, and I don't think I will ever buy a house that is any newer. Our house is like 1,300 square feet, but this place is a fortress. I will be on one side of the house and my fiance's on another, and I can't hear him talking to me because the walls are so thick. We have to command hook everything to the wall because it is impossible to get like a push pin in to put decor up because the walls are so thick. Watch.
Plaster.
I'm trying as hard as I can.
No, you're not.
No, you're right. Use a hammer, bitch.
Right.
Maybe don't stitch that in, but that's like...
Right, she's like...
I couldn't do that on anything.
Well, yeah, the 1950s, they used plaster.
Do we even continue?
No, I don't even think...
Oh, that's the realness coming out.
Right.
Okay.
You do not, listen, you do not need a home inspection on new construction. You don't. Really.
Little crack in the slab.
No biggie. What's the worst could happen with that? Well, the house can keep on moving, and then you might have to pay some thousands, get your foundation, stabilized or something. But that ain't nothing. That's just money. What? Why y'all be tripping? That just means your window is compromised, which means the seal is broken, which means you probably need a new window. No biggie. No biggie. You could have saved on a home inspection. No biggie. So yeah, you don't need a home inspection, but hey, somebody gonna pay for it.
He's obviously a home inspector.
Yeah.
And not a new construction house again. But yeah, going back to it, get all the inspections that you want. Make sure that the people are building your houses correctly and that you're buying a quality product.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would still recommend on a new construction that they hire an inspector.
We do. We recommend everybody get a home inspection, even though I'm not a big fan of home inspectors because they know a little but nothing. But
they know a little bit about a lot of things, but like they're not an expert on anything.
A little bit of nothing.
Yeah.
You'll see all these $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 houses. Well, here's one. There's one. All right. I want to show you what these son of bitches are made out of. You see that? Better. Okay. There's this. Ain't shit to it. I want y'all's goddamn homes built out of fucking cardboard. 200 G's. 200 G's.
The crazy thing is, this is happening all over America.
I don't even know what he was looking at.
They make like an engineered panel that you can put up in some areas. Like our code won't let you do that. It all depends on the building codes in the areas. What they do, we put OSB around all of our houses.
Oh, so the comments are even like someone said, blame the city for allowing that to be code.
Exactly. Yep. It used to be code and buildings. You could do like a blue board, and then you could do vinyl siding. Like you could literally put your hand all the way through the wall.
Oh.
So just confirm, homes built in Billings, Montana are not made of cardboard.
They are not made of cardboard. They are not.
Oh.
That I can guarantee.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you feel about some of the misconceptions around like new construction? Are there things people should be aware of certain builders out there? Like what should people look out for? Because it does seem like there's a lot of or not a lot, but there is some like hate for new construction, or people say beware, like it's not all it's cracked up to be.
It depends on what you're looking for. It's kind of how I feel. So even actually, I just had someone say it to me yesterday, right? She said, oh, they're kind of stuck in this spot of if they're going to buy like a smaller new house and move in ready, everything's good, warranty, or they're going to go get a bigger, older home is really kind of where I feel like the...
Absolutely. And I think for most part in our area, all the builders are great. I think that when you're shopping for a builder, I think the big thing that because we all use the same subs, the same material, the same vendors. I think the big thing is making sure your builder's got good reputation for warranty, because things are going to go wrong in the house, and it's all about that follow up and making sure that you're taking care of your customers. I think that's where a builder can get a bad name, is if they're not going back and taking care of the issues. Because like if you get a leaky faucet, it's going to happen. Materials are going to fail, or human error. There's hundreds of people that work on each individual house.
And that's what is funny about it, is people, right? Like it's built by people. There's human error.
Right. There's human error.
Yeah.
And so what we pride ourselves on is getting back and taking care of that warranty in a timely manner and doing it right. That's the main thing I would look for in a builder is your warranty process.
And communication, I think, is big for a builder.
Absolutely.
With their clients. So